is being sold and exchanged all the way to the point where he ends up in Egypt. And last week, we couldn't believe that Yosef is ever going to see the light, so to speak. This week, it all turns over. Not only is he out of the pit, not only is he released from slavery, but in this week's Parsha, Parshas Mikeitz, Yosef becomes the ruler of Egypt, second to king, to the point that Paroi makes this very clear order where he says on page 228, verse 44, Vayomer Paroi el Yosef ani Paro, I am Paro, however, ubiladecha lo yarim ish et yado ve'ed raglo b'chol eretz Mitzrayim. Without you, he tells them, no man may lift up his hand or foot in the land of Egypt. You're going to have to get an authorized slip from you, Yosef, whether they can lift up their hands or their feet. Can you imagine what it meant for Yosef? After being in the pit, he was twice in a pit. He was in a pit by his brothers, and he was in a pit in the jail of Egypt, which was also literally a pit. And then when the moment came, it didn't take much. It didn't take much. As we see in this Parsha, once Paroi decides to call him and to hear his advice. So if you go back on page 224, verse 14, so it says, Vayikra et Yosef, Paroi is calling Yosef, Vayeretziu min habor. What is Vayeritzu min habor? They rushed them out from the dungeon. Vayegalach, shaved, Vayichalifim loisov, changed his clothes, suddenly became a whole different person, and it was all done in a hasteness, in a hurry. Vayeritzu, Yosef, come on, no time. Hold on, I'm a prisoner. There's a process. Maybe it will take time. No, when the moment has arrived, it happened momentarily. Vayeritzu min habor. And as we also know that our sages tell us that that actually happened on Rosh Hashanah. It was on the holiday of Rosh Hashanah, which tradition teaches is when Yosef was first taken out of the pit, getting ready to go meet Pharaoh and offer him insight into his dreams. This story develops further in this week's Parsha, is when it's becoming so-called dramatic, is due to a famine in the land of Canaan. And Yaakov and his sons, which long ago forgot about Yosef. This is over 20 years which they are separated, and they completely forgot, so to speak, about this brother. As far as they are concerned, he is long gone. Are making their way down to Egypt because there is a need for food, and the only place and the only person who has the ability to support them is this Yosef. So if you turn to page 232, verse 6, verse 5, Vayavo bnei Israel, or it's 233 in English, Vayavo bnei Israel, lishbor betoich haboim. And the sons of Israel, the sons of Jacob, came to buy provisions, food, among the arrivals. Ki hoyo rov be'eretz Knoan, for the famine was in the land of Canaan. Says the next pasuk, Ve'Yosef hu shalit ala aretz. Yosef, he was the viceroy, he was the ruler over the land. Hu amashbir lechol am haaretz. He is the one who provided to all the people of the land. Vayovoyach Yosef, and the brothers came. Vayishtachavu le'apayim mortzo. They prostrate themselves to him. And as the page continues on verse 8, Vayakir Yosef Esechov, Yosef recognizes his brothers, but ve'em lo yikiru, but they did not recognize him. They are coming. They are talking to the so-called stranger, a man which they did not see over 20 years. When they left them last, he was 17 years old. 17-year-old, as Rashi brings from our sages, that he was no beard yet. And now he was a grown man with a long beard. 20 years later. He didn't shave in Egypt. I don't know if he was the only one or there was the style in Egypt. Basically, I don't know. But Rashi says that they did not recognize him because they were all older than him. They were already bearded young men. And he was being the youngest, one before the youngest, Yosef and Binyamin. So he couldn't recognize Mr. Bachuchik, who is this guy with this long beard? But he did recognize them, and imagine those brothers. You see how things turn around? Those brothers are not only coming to ask him and to purchase food, but when they see him, and being the person who he is, they fall on the ground, prostrating themselves before this man who earlier they took the same person and did what? Lifted him up by his hands and lowered them down into a pit. They did it. What do you call it? A miracle? Jerry, you good in labeling things. How would you label this incident?
Hashem set it up for these things.
What? So what do you call it?
I call it following Hashem's way.
Divine
You have a title for it or not?
No.
No. Okay. You don't have to. Tonight is Hanukkah. On Hanukkah, we light candles, and if you wish, maybe someone can, here, I'm going to help you get, everyone's going to get a cedar, okay? Today we're also going to use a prayer book. So right here you have the blue prayer book. Right here, turn to page 389. Here, press down to your friend next to you. 389. 389. Here, you have one? Here, that's for you, and that's for you. Everybody has? Oh, you got? יש שם בחוץ כיפות, כן, יש שם בחוץ קופסה. הנה, מוכן. On page 389, we have the blessings for lighting the Hanukkah candles. Then you turn to page 390, and here we have a special prayer that we recite after kindling the lights. And how does it go? Let's learn together on page 390. Haneirot halalu. These candles. Anu madlikim. We kindle these lights to commemorate what? Al achuot. English translation, saving acts. Ve'ala nisim, miracles. Ve'ala niflaot, and wonders. She'asita lavotenu bayamim ha'em bizman hazeh, which you have performed for our forefathers in those days at this time of the year, seemingly, right? Al yedei kohanecha ha'kedoshim. These miracles came through the great Yeholy Kohanim. V'chol shmonat yimei Chanukah neiret alolu kodeshem. Throughout the 8 days of Hanukkah, those lights are sacred. Ve'yein lanu reshus leishtamesh bohem. Leishtamesh bohem, and we have no permission. We are not permitted to make use of them. Ela lirotam bilvad, only to look at them. you think if you have no right to take advantage of them, so don't just ignore them. No, you can't ignore them. There's a positive aspect, lirotam. It's not that you can't use them and therefore look away from them. You shouldn't use them, but at the same time, we want you to look at them. And as I always say, that the rabbis used to say, you got to sit by the candles and to listen the story which they relate to you. There's a story that those candles are telling you. And by looking at the candles, when you light them, you're going to hear a story. And last night there was one story, tonight was 2 stories, and tomorrow it's going to be 3 stories, all the way till the 8th night. You're going to have 8 stories. Kedei leodot ulehalel, in order to offer thanks and praise, leshimcha gadol, to your great name. And what are we thanking Him for? Al nisecha, for the miracles. Al nifleotecha, for your wonders. Ve'al yeshuatecha, for your salvation. So if you notice, something is very interesting, first of all. The initial opening of this paragraph starts that we are lighting those candles to commemorate, number 1, saving acts. Number 2, miracles. Number 3, wonders. So first of all, what is the difference between saving acts and miracles and wonders? Especially when it comes to the end of the paragraph, somehow we change the order. We are offering praise and thanks for the miracles, for the wonders, and at the end, your salvation, Yeshua. What was the saving acts, and what were the miracles, and which were the wonders in the story of Hanukkah? So this is which is being explained by our sages, and the Rabbi discusses it in length. That number 1, the story of Hanukkah had 3 stages. If you read the history of Hanukkah, it all began in a small little town. A small little town, Modi'in. And these were the family of Matisyahu and his sons were getting into a dispute, so to speak, about religious activities with their neighbors. At that point, they stood and they decided, even though they were a minority, and they were, maybe not so strong, but they weren't fighting a strong army either. There was a neighborhood conflict, so to speak. And they won. The Jews, a small group of Jews, won. That was the first act. That was the savings. Then the saving acts. The miracle became later when the war, this little operation expanded into a big war. And the big war was a strong, powerful army against a small group with no ammunition. And we actually mentioned that part of the story 3 times a day on Hanukkah during the Amidah prayer. And since you have the prayer book in front of you, I want you to take a small peek on it. Let's go to the evening service, because now we are at night. But the same text we say during the Mincha service, and the same text we also say during the Shacharit, the morning service. So if you turn to the evening prayer, on page 129, so we have a brief description of the miracle, and we offer thanks by saying Ala Nisim, Ala Purkan, and we thank you for the miracles and the redemption, for the mighty deeds. And then we say the story that in the days of Matisyahu, the son of Yochanan, the high priest, the Hashmonoite and his sons, when the wicked aliens government rose up against your people Israel to make them forget your Torah and violate the decrees of your will. But you, in your abandoning mercies, stood by them in the time of their distress. You waged their battles, defended their rights, and avenged the wrong done unto them. You delivered, listen to that, the mighty into the hands of the weak. So we say clearly, Giborim beyat chalashim. They were the mighty. The Yevanim were the mighty. We were the weak. Small, weak. Rabbi meyat me'atim. The many into the hands of the few. The Jews were a few. They were many, many. Reshoim beyat tzadikim. The impure into the hands of the pure. Tmeim beyat toerim. Reshoim beyat tzadikim. So we clearly mention in this prayer 3 times a day that the story of the victory of the war of Hanukkah is really a miracle. We call it a miracle. Why is it a miracle? Because if you learn army strategics, and you know that it's not usual that a mighty army should fall into the hands of a weak and small group. Doesn't make sense. It's not natural.
You don't know about the American Revolution, Rabbi.
What's the American Revolution?
A few were the Americans.
So maybe it was a miracle.
And they beat the big British.
Hold on. So maybe, let's say you're right. Call it a miracle. I have no problem. If you want to call the revolution a miracle, call it a miracle. Okay. David Schneider says it was there. It wasn't like that.
Okay.
What? No, I was asking Arnold. Arnold was on the other side there, the British
It's
side.
more like the 6-Day War. More like the 6-Day War.
Oh, that's right. The history of the 6-Day War was clearly that type of miracle. There was Rabbi biyat me'atim, and it was Giborim biyat chaloshim. Yes, everybody. I don't think there was one person in the world who thought that this is natural. They say that somebody was a student and he was studying the history of armies. And he asked the professor, I see you teaching me about this war and that war. How come you don't teach us about the Israeli wars? So he told him, I can only teach you natural statistics, but this is out of the ordinary. That doesn't make it into my program. This is a war which is fought by God, not by soldiers. So the story of Hanukkah is a miracle, but that was not a wonder yet. Why wasn't it a wonder? Because after all, you're fighting. And when you fight, there are tricks, there are tactics. I'm sure there are some, what do you call those people, who try to find the nature in every miracle? What would you title them? Skeptics. Oh. That's a nice word for them. There are the skeptics who will come and give you 500 reasons how comes it worked. So they might agree that it's a miracle, that's not natural, but still to say it's completely out of the ordinary, it's a wonder. Lobby. But then comes a wonder. Pella. What's a pella? When you find a little cruise of oil, there's no way in God's world that this tiny cruise of oil can burn more than in one night. It's impossible. They tried it, and the oil is being used forever from day one, and oil is still being used today. And then suddenly, when a little jar of oil is taking its time because we are not ready to produce new oil, and it takes 8 days, and that's how it continues progressing and deciding I'm not moving anywhere, I will continue shining in light because you guys need me, that's called pella. That's called a wonder. It's more than just a miracle. It's completely out of the ordinary. It has no grasp in nature. And that's what we are celebrating. The interesting thing is that when it comes to practically celebrating Hanukkah, if you ask someone, so what are we actually celebrating? Very little is being told about the war. Yes, in Talmudic sources, you're going to learn about the war, you hear about praise and thanksgiving for the victory and so on. But if you ask any person, so what are we doing in Hanukkah? We're lighting candles. And what are the candles commemorating? Don't you know? The story of the oil. What about the war? What about the war? Very little is being spoken about the war. On the other hand, if you come Purim, and you ask anybody, what are we celebrating? What do you mean? Our survival. Somebody was fighting us and we won. Even he didn't even fight, he just planned a war against us. It was transformed. And that's what we are celebrating. And how do you celebrate? What do you mean? You wanted to get our bodies away. We're going to show them that our bodies are not just alive and kicking, but are very excitingly alive. We're going to give it some good wine, and we're going to put on some good music, and we're going to dance and to celebrate, meaning we're going to involve our physical being in the story of the victory. That's what Purim is all about. Yemei mishteh v'simcha. Days of festivity and joy. Hanukkah, there is no obligation to have a feast on Hanukkah. Right? Always good to eat. Leave it for the Jews. They're going to find all kinds of excuses to make parties and so on. But there's no obligation. Purim, you have an obligation. You're actually obligated to sit down and to give your body some exciting physical nutrition.
Like mustard.
Liquid or solid. More liquid than solid.
Yeah.
But when it comes Hanukkah, there's no such obligation. What are we doing on Hanukkah? We light candles. The original candles is lit by oil. In here too, you can see also the difference between oil and wine. And the different wine which is Purim. And that difference actually reflects the essential difference how we celebrate Hanukkah and what celebrates Purim. Oil penetrates. It doesn't go above. It doesn't show itself. It's not looking to remain and to represent himself. Shemen, the halacha is shemen mefa'apeh bekulo. If you put oil on a garment, if you put oil in food, what does the oil do?
Remains.
Not just remain. It gets absorbed in the garment. It all becomes oily. It gets absorbed in the food. It becomes oily and fatty. It kriegt, in Yiddish they say, sie kriegt da rein. It climbs in, right? It penetrates. Finds himself at any corner, and he gets in there, and he sucks through it, and he becomes one with it. Quietly. You ever saw oil burning? I saw tonight at my menorah at home. No noise. There's no flickering. Something is flickering, something either wrong with the wick, or something is wrong with the oil. Pure oil. 100%, virgin olive oil, Kirkland produce, does not cause any flickering or any noise. You look at it, it keeps on burning beautifully, in silence, in tranquility. You have a cup of wine, start talking. You have 2 cups of wine, you talk even more. You keep on expressing yourself and making more noise and more noise as more wine gets into you. See, most quiet people are becoming noisy and talkable. You want to get at something from somebody, you give them a good cup of wine and a second cup of wine, and the next thing you know, you reach a deal that he was never intending even to reach. He was never planning it.
Vino veritas.
What is that?
Vino veritas.
Что такое vino veritas?
Means that when you have the wine, that's when the truth comes out.
Yeah, the truth, each one with his own truth, exactly. But wine is the opposite of oil. Wine is the opposite of oil. Where oil is quiet and tranquil, wine is noisy and out of himself, not absorbing himself, but rather expanding himself. Start making with their hands, with their feet, and start dancing. Purim, when it celebrates the body, what do we do? We drink wine. Because Purim is to explore and to express and to involve ourselves in the excitement of the miracle which tried to take us away. That's what Haman wanted. Chanukah is a bediuk hafuch. Chanukah is all about the spirit. As we also read in this paragraph, להשכיחם תורתך, להעבירם מחוקי רצונך. The Greeks did not look for our bodies. They just tried to get us out of our following God's laws. Matter of fact, as Hasidic philosophy teaches, that even the laws were making sense, they were ready to accept, as long as it's rational. The issue was with that which does not make sense. Those things that we do only because God told us to do. That was the issue. The sacredness of Judaism. The holiness of Judaism. That was something that the Greeks were fighting and trying to eradicate and get out of the Jewish people. And that's what the oil story represents. We are clearly not celebrating our physical survival, even though, by matter of fact, it is our physical survival too. But the celebration is mainly to concentrate on the spirit, on the ruchaniyut of the neshama, of the soul, which is reflected by candles. Ner Hashem Nishmat Adam. King Solomon, in the book of Proverbs, discusses the candle of God as being the soul of man. Meaning, if you want to have an insight, what is soul? Maza neshama. Soul is related to a candle. Just like a candle is a matter of spirit, it is a physical matter, but it shines, it spreads warmth, and it can continue shining. It doesn't diminish anything by its shining. The candle, the flame itself, doesn't lose himself while shining. This is the opposite from candles, from fire, of anything else. Usually physical things, as more you spend them, less you own. If you have $1,000, you spend $500, so you are left with only $500. Right? You're left with $500. Anything that you spend, you have a plate of food, you hate part of it, that's it. Only a smaller piece is left. When it comes to fire, it doesn't make a difference. It's the wick which keeps on getting consumed. The physical object, but the flame itself is the opposite. It can keep on burning and spending and providing, and is unaffected. I'm very okay with it. I'm not losing myself just because I gave something to somebody else. This is the metaphor of fire. This is the power of the neshama. The body works itself out, and then you're tired, and you deal with issues. The neshama doesn't work itself. As more you use the neshama, don't think that you are losing part of it. I have a brother, an interesting character. I have so many brothers, so each one has to be a little different than the other. And my mother one day was like calling on him, why is he schlepping his legs? You know what schlepping his legs mean? How do normal people walk? Like you walk. He used to walk like this.
Shuffle.
shuffle. My mother couldn't take it. Just, why are you shuffling yourself? Says, I'm preserving my energy for later years. He's preserving his energy for later. He doesn't want to use it. Huh?
Which brother?
Oh, I can't say. It's on the internet.
That's right. He,
I hope he didn't hear that.
Preserving. Why does he feel that he has to preserve? Because he knows that's what happens to the body. You're running your body out. He's still preserving, by the way. But when it comes to your neshama, so as more you active with your soul, and as more that you spend your soul and exercise your soul doesn't get tired. The opposite. It's like an increase of fire and more fuel. Every good deed, every time the neshama uses itself, is fueling his own self. You become more excited. Mitzvah goreret mitzvah. One mitzvah pulls another mitzvah. Why is one mitzvah pulling another mitzvah? Because every mitzvah is where the soul expresses itself, and this becomes the fuel for the next expression, for the next inflaming. This is how soul works. And that's what Hanukkah is. But that story did not happen expected. No one in the temple came and expected that this cruise of oil is going to last for 8 days. They poured in the oil and they knew, God, we give you the best we have. One cruise, one night. We got to work, find new olives, process them. Hopefully we can get some new oil. They come in next morning to the temple, and lo and behold, still burning. They didn't know it's going to happen. It's going to burn till tonight. Completely unexpected. And it came the next morning. And don't think that by the 8th day they say, oh, it must be already something, of common denominator. It's normal. That's it. Every day was a new excitement. They were watching it every day, seeing and looking. Oops, it's still. And the miracle kept on working itself for 8 days. The whole thing was unexpected. It wasn't a miracle like a war, that when you fight a war, you sometimes rely that somehow you're going to be able to shock the enemy, even though you have less weapons and less ammunition, but somehow you're smarter, etc. There's no chokhmah of it. It's a little piece of oil. I don't expect anything to happen. And when you don't expect, that happened. The unexpected. This is the story of Yosef in this big Parsha. When Yosef was sitting there in Egypt, Yosef was not expecting to become the ruler of Egypt. He didn't expect to become the ruler of Egypt. He would have been very happy if somebody would have told him, you're going to get out of the pit. And do what? And be a servant to someone, be a slave to someone. He would have been happy too. He wasn't expecting. He would have been happy with the minimal of goodness and happiness which would have been provided for him, because he was in such a difficult situation. What am I to expect? The unexpected happened when he was rushed out of Egypt. The unexpected happened when he suddenly, the whole thing turned over and he becomes in charge, to the point that Paro says, everybody is your servant. Everybody is under your control. You are the one in charge. This is what we call not just a miracle, we call a pele, a wondrous miracle, an unexpected miracle. This is called the unexpected miracle. There's an interesting expression in the Talmud. The Talmud talks about 3 things which the only way to find them is unexpectedly. One of the things is a lost item. Metzia. You don't go on the street and looking for a lost item. You walk. Oh, you do? Okay. And you ever found something? So it wasn't.
You put something in your wallet on top of the car, you drive away, and then you remember, I left my wallet on the car?
No, I'm talking the opposite. Finding a lost item of somebody else's.
Oh.
Not yours.
You don't expect going around the street and finding $1 million. If you find $1 million, we don't expect it. Right? Found it. Same thing is when it comes, the Talmud says about Mashiach. Mashiach is coming, is also going to be unexpectedly. So then you're going to wonder, what do you mean unexpectedly? Every day, all day, I'm anticipating his coming. Don't we always pray for Mashiach? Don't we all want Mashiach to come? What does it mean unexpected? He's for sure going to be here. And we want him to be here, so he's going to be here. And here comes something very important that we can learn both from the story of Hanukkah, from the story of Yosef, and the story of Mashiach. Sometimes we expect the unexpected. Once it comes, we look at it, wow, I did not expect that to happen. When my wife gave birth to my second child, somebody gave us a book. The name of the book was What to Expect When You're Expecting. Anybody saw that book? Oh. I guess it's older than my oldest daughter. What to expect when you expect. Fine. Gave him, a list of 9 months what to expect. You can write a second book. The title that What to Expect When You're Not Expecting. And that will be just as good in regard to birth. And it will be a third title, in my opinion, which is, how would I title it? Don't expect what you can't expect. You ever saw a woman after birth who says, wow, exactly like I read about it? Felt exactly like the book said.
Not exactly.
No.
We have some ladies in the class, and they can tell you,
Some mothers in there.
some mothers in the class, and they can tell you it was always the unexpected which took place when they, after expecting for 9 months. Wow. There's no one prepared me for that experience. I can't believe I went through it. Okay? This is women who expect. And the same thing is meet the story of Mashiach. We are required to expect what to happen when Mashiach comes. Because we want to get into the atmosphere, we want to know what we're waiting for. What are we expecting to happen? What is expected to happen? We want to learn about the temple, we want to learn about the offering, we want to learn about the knowledge of God, which is going to be provided for the entire universe. There's a lot of things that we are reading and learning always, starting in Tanakh, which is filled with prophecies about the coming of Mashiach, all ending with the Rambam, Maimonides, who gives us an halachic description about how it's going to look when Mashiach comes. And obviously those who learn Hasidic philosophy and Kabbalah, they're actually tasting a little bit of the future. But at the same time, we all know and believe that one of the moment will come you never expected it to happen. So if you are worried, how am I going to deal with that, what our sages tell us, that Mashiach has to come in an unexpected way, how am I interfering by keep on asking for it and believing in it and looking for it? Believe me, you have nothing to worry about. Because when it's going to come and it's going to happen, you're still going to stand there and say, woo, I didn't expect that. I didn't expect that. Yosef HaTzadik trusted in God tremendously. We discussed last week in the synagogue, Vayehi Yosef Ish Matzliach. Yosef was walking around as if he is successful in the most difficult times. He pretended that things are okay. He really believed that things are going to be fine. He trusted God. He was the ultimate believer. But at the same time, when all this befell him, he never expected it. He never expected to become the Moshel, the ruler of Egypt. He never expected to see his brothers. In the next 2 weeks, this week's Parsha, next week's Parsha, the dramatic events which befall Yosef, this doesn't involve his state of bitachon. That doesn't interfere with what he actually trusted in Hashem. He had a lot of trust in Hashem, but much more than what he had trusted had happened. So my friends, sitting here on Hanukkah, and it's a time, like we say, we light the menorah, and we listen to the story of the candles. We're all expecting miracles in our life. You should. And we are destined to see miracles. But at the same time, be ready when the miracle comes. It's going to be flying colors. It's going to be much more than you ever expected. When we come on the night of Hanukkah, and we look at the menorah, and we know that we're living in a world which needs light more than anything else. Because to chase away darkness, any type of darkness, you can't use no sticks, you can't use no fights, you can't use no words, you can only use light. Choshech megarshim be'or, lo b'makel. Darkness gets chased away with light, not with a cane, not with a stick. This is the metaphor of light. But the real light is what King Solomon continues and he says, Kiner mitzvah ve'torah or. A mitzvah is a candle and Torah is light. I believe it's written up there. Does it say there? I can't see it anymore. Maybe it's the one in the synagogue. No. Ner mitzvah ve'torah or. A mitzvah is light and Torah is light. A mitzvah is a candle and Torah light. And each mitzvah, each time you have an opportunity to do a mitzvah, you put on tefillin one day, you give tzedakah, you learn Torah, you pray for someone, you help someone, you act kindly to someone.
It's a spark.
It's another candle, it's another candle, it's another candle. And all these candles together chase away the darkness, and suddenly it's going to appear the unexpected light. The expected, unexpected light, or Rosh Mashiach, the light of Mashiach, which is going to shine through this end of exile, and we're all going to be reunited with the ultimate celebration of dedication. Chanukah means dedication, the dedication of the new temple in Jerusalem, the third temple, which is going to be everlasting. Let it be speedily in our days. Amen.
Amen.
A few minutes earlier, I just want to end with two announcements, so we're all on the same page. First of all, we're the latkes of Farkash. Every year you give us sufganiyot during the Hanukkah class. What happened to the sufganiyot tonight?
Miracle.
The miracle is...
Unexpected.
Actually, somebody sent me a clip how you burn 500 calories in a minute and a half. A real Hanukkah miracle. You saw it?
You like the sufganiyot on fire.
Exactly. You put a sufganiyot on the table, you light it with fire, in a minute and a half you burn 500 calories. But anyway, we are going to have tomorrow night, the entire community, 6 o'clock, starting a party with latkes, sufganiyot. We're going to have a menorah lighting in the synagogue, and then we're going to have a oil factory and onward here at Eastside Torah Center. And then you're going to have your lafting. Next Wednesday night, there will not be class here. Because either you're going to be all making your way back from Atlanta for the wedding, or you're still going to be on the... I'm marrying my son next Tuesday. I'm sure you all know about it. You're invited to come spend time with us in Atlanta next week. I hope you're going to have a little l'chaim on Tuesday night in honor of the Chassan and Kala. We wish them all well and good. But I'm not here. Rabbi Dushevitz is planning to be in Atlanta. My brother Barry is planning to be there. So I don't have anyone to take over. So next Wednesday there is no class, but we are going to have class the last Wednesday in December, when I'm going to be back.
28.
The 28th. Okay? Other than that,
27.
everyone a happy Hanukkah. Laila Tov. I have to leave a little earlier, but I will see you all either tomorrow, I'm still here, or after Hanukkah. Toda Rabba.
Thank you very much.
Rabbi,
Yes.
you know what the Hanukkah began with America? You know how the whole thing ended? The last of the Hashmoneans invited the Romans to help them.
So after the, come back.
I'll see you tomorrow, everybody. I'm here tomorrow. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Oh yeah, open the book. Still reading it.
Okay.
David.
Cerebrally broken.
Oh, doesn't work? Okay. David, we'll look at it. David, I need a favor from you.